right, guys, here we are with the class of 2025, right-handed pitcher and third baseman, Matt Pearch. He goes to Dunwoody High School here in Atlanta, plays for Outlaws, travel baseball, and obviously trains here at Athletek with us. Just finished up our Velocity Max program over the summer, and he's also a quarterback. So QB1, right, big guy?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how football is going. I know you've been diving into that the last week or so.
Well, yeah. I mean, we started 6 a.m. workouts this week to stay out of the heat. So it's been interesting, pretty tiring. And then obviously we had it last week too before I threw at the Future Games too. So
Are you guys in pads yet?
we're starting. Oh yeah, we started this week in pads.
Pads, okay. So that's kind of like the big switch for you football guys, right? Like when you get in pads, it's like, oh baby, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, well, not really for me because I'm not allowed to get hit.
Right.
But like obviously for like the line stuff, it's a lot different, especially with like pressure and stuff, and then linebackers hitting, wide receivers blocking, stuff like that. It's just different.
Okay. When's the first game?
We got a scrimmage next Friday, and then our first game is August 18th. We play North Springs.
So you guys do like preseason first?
Yeah, I mean, we have one preseason game. It's just no special teams, kind of just don't show too much.
Okay. All right. So you really don't have a lot of time like in pads and full practice before the season?
Not really. It's like two weeks in pads before the season starts.
But you've been doing 7-on-7s and that stuff throughout the summer.
We've been doing that all summer.
What was that like during the summer? I mean, obviously you had a full travel ball summer. Like, what was it like trying to balance being a quarterback, doing 7-on-7s, being a pitcher, managing your starts, playing the field, all that stuff? What was that like?
Well, on it, obviously, like I had to manage my schedule, whether it was like I had to go to football or go to baseball, stuff like that. And then, honestly, I don't think throwing the football messed me up too much during baseball season just because I was throwing the baseball like every single day. But like more recently, it kind of has a little bit. But I really don't think it's affected me that much. Maybe kind of when I first started throwing the football during the summer after throwing a baseball for 3 weeks straight and not touching football, that might have thrown me off, but I got the hang of it pretty quick.
So you feel like coming off a baseball season and then go back to throwing the football is harder than vice versa, than being in football season and having to go back to throwing a baseball, or is it both hard in its own right?
I think definitely going from football to baseball is harder.
Yeah.
Just because baseball it's so many like little things. Yeah. And obviously football is too, but I feel like baseball, it makes more of a difference because, when you're playing quarterback, you got a much bigger like target than a strike zone. So
right. No, you hear about quarterbacks, right? And their thing is like, okay, they go from throwing the football all season, you go back to throwing the baseball, and it's like, shit, how do I not throw a slider? Like, how do I make the ball not cut? Because it's different. The release point's different. Just the sinking is different. Obviously, like for you, if you're throwing year-round, whether it's football or baseball, I would assume your arm stays in shape, right? Like you haven't really had too many issues from a conditioning standpoint, but I guess just the feel and the detail part is what you struggle with?
Yeah, and I feel like it kind of like affects like a different part of your arm. Like I feel like football is a lot more like shoulder area where baseball is like more kind of back of your right shoulder and more like elbow, stuff like that. That's kind of the feel I get.
Okay. Well, I mean, so tell me this, like obviously you start, let's just back up from like calendar year January 1st. The first thing that comes up is like, high school tryouts. And you get that cranked out and it's freaking 28 degrees out. And in Georgia it gets cold, people. So it's just 28 degrees. You're trying to practice. You're trying to get your arm going. And you're having a preseason game, 4 weeks in? Usually is February 16th or February 12th is usually preseason. So you're 4 weeks in. You're trying to figure out, how to get your arm going. I'm talking as a pitcher mainly, how to get your arm going. Then you roll through. March starts to warm up. April it gets warm. You finally start catching your groove pitching. Then you roll into a summer season, Memorial Day. It's May. You go through June. You go through July. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. Like, how does this stuff start to add up? And then how do you feel this time of year after a long summer? You had a long summer, you had a long season. What does that mean for you now? Most people get a little break. You don't. You're going right into football. What does that feel like for you?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's kind of a different feel, but like I feel like when I started the high school season, I probably started down here,
Yeah.
and gradually like came up, and I probably hit my peak like late summer, and then I'm kind of like regressing back down a little bit and get into that like football mood, I guess you could say.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about the summer? Like, obviously, you just spoke about feeling your peak in July, and kind of on the downslide on the baseball side, and kind of transitioning into football. But do you feel like you accomplished some of the things this summer that you set out to accomplish? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think definitely. I feel like I remember around exactly 1 year ago, one of my goals was to make it to the PBR Future Games.
Yeah.
And, I was just like, I just really wanted to do it, and I just tried my best. When they sent out the thing on their website, I requested an invite, stuff like that, and I remember when the PBR got texted me, I was excited.
That's awesome.
It was one of my goals for the summer.
That's awesome, man. And we'll talk a little bit more about the PBR stuff here in a little bit. We'll let the audience hear what you have to say on that. But kind of jumping back real quick to the goals you set out, what you wanted to do over the summer, what you wanted to do back in the high school season, kind of just your sophomore year and all the way through sophomore summer goals. What were they? How did you get there? What are some of the things you did? Kind of speak on that a little bit. I know there were times where you told me, hey, I feel like I don't have a plan now, or I feel like I do have a plan now. Like, what did that look like for you?
Well, I think a few of my goals were like I really wanted to hit 90, and I mean obviously Velocity Max helped with that. It really got my arm strength up and it got me my arm feeling healthy.
Yeah.
Because especially during high school, my arm was kind of iffy, but once I started Velocity Max, got like into it a lot. My arm started feeling amazing. I feel like that's when I really made the jump. And then another one of my goals was getting college recognition, which I did, which that was one of my more important goals, I'd say, towards the top of my list, which, it worked out.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, for some of the people who know who we are and what we do, they've probably heard of Velocity Max. I'm sure there's a lot of people who have not. We started the system not that long ago, about 3 years ago, but it really started catching fire the last year and a half. What did that look like for you when you first heard about it? What were your thoughts of it, and what ultimately pushed you to say, hey, I want to give this thing a go with Coach Greg and Coach Tyler, and I want to try this thing out, and I want to see if this can push me past the next level? What did that look like?
Well, obviously, I saw you doing a bunch of stuff on Instagram, stuff like that, through social media. I think it was probably in the fall before high school. And, I kind of looked at it, and I didn't think I really needed to do it yet. And then once I kind of got into high school ball, my arm, it wasn't feeling great, like I said. And I'm like, oh, I need to switch something up. My velo wasn't, like, making a jump that quickly like it did. And obviously it's going to slow down. But, I'm not very experienced. I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And then it kind of wanted me to get into it. And, yeah.
Cool. No, that's good, man. I mean, I think there's a lot of guys like you who are, talented young pitchers, young players, period. And they're trying to figure out, what do I do? When do I do it? How do I do it? Who's the right person to do it with? So that I'm glad that you jumped on board to do that stuff with us. But kind of dive in a little bit, man. I mean, a lot of people ask us, how do you manage doing Velocity Max and playing summer ball and managing a full schedule and doing 7-on-7s and football? Like, did you feel like it was ever too much at times? Did you feel like it was a good push for you and create a routine? Like, tell us what you think.
Well, it definitely created a routine for me, which I think was good. But the thing is, I think the way you organize it, and especially like playing for you, that really helped. You had my whole schedule, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that definitely made it easier, but I feel like that could be done with anyone. As long as your schedule is given to you and stuff like that. It's just, you just have a routine. I don't think it ever got too much for me. It's just that commitment to doing it.
Yeah.
It's on the player to get the stuff done. You just give it out.
Yeah.
But if the player really wants to get better, then they'll do their stuff consistently. Because probably I'd say consistency when doing velocity max is probably the most important thing. You can't just skip a day just because you don't want to do it.
Yeah. No, I think the consistency thing is everything with anything you do. I mean, it's like if you're hitting, if you're pitching, if you're playing golf, if you're a football player, if you're a ballerina, like you're gonna have to be consistent with the things you want to work on. So I'm glad you recognize that, man. And I can say, of all the guys that did Velocity Max this summer with us, you were probably one of the most consistent, while also having one of the busiest schedules too. So kudos to you for being able to commit and being disciplined on your stuff. What did the program look like? I mean, give me some of the things that maybe you expected to see when you started the program, and then some of the things that maybe you didn't expect to see. Like, was some of the stuff like a surprise to you? Like, man, what is this? I've never seen this before. And then some of the stuff you're like, okay, I would expect to see this in a velo program.
Well, I expected plyos and bands stuff, but I had bands before. I had plyos. I just didn't have any idea what to do.
Okay.
I looked some stuff up, but I didn't really have an idea of what to do, and honestly, it kind of just really showed me like things I can do to get better, make my arm stronger, make my arm healthier, make my mobility better, stuff like that. That's super important for pitching that maybe kids may not have a good idea of, and kids don't have the knowledge of, and that's super important.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think having the plan is a major barrier for most kids. They just don't have a plan. And then if you do have a plan, how are you going to carry it out? That's another barrier, right? Because a lot of kids, they get all hopped up on a Mountain Dew at midnight. I'm going to do this, this, and this, and set out all these goals. And this is not a knock on you guys, but that's how teenagers think, right? They get amped up and excited about stuff, but then being able to have the right resources to carry out that stuff, having the right coach, having the right mentor, having the right program, having the right facility, I think that's probably the biggest thing that matters for you guys. So, tell me this. You came in thinking, okay, I might not need this program, right? I'm already a pretty good pitcher. I think at 15U last year in the summer, what did you hit, 85?
Yeah, and then in the fall, I hit 87.
Fall, you hit 87. So you're kind of going through into November, into the off season, getting ready for your sophomore year. Man, I'm already 87. I'm good to go, thinking you've got it figured out, right? You had some of your early struggles in high school ball. Like, what would you say diving into the program was something that you expected, man, I won't have any problem with this, and then you did? Like, something that was a major, like, okay, I got to get better at this. Like, did you have any of those aha moments?
I feel like, honestly, it was like, I wasn't really doing anything for arm care. Like I said earlier, I had bands. I just didn't know what to do with them. I had class. I didn't know what to do with them. And it kind of just showed me how important it is, because I feel like you throw so much harder when your arm feels better. Like, you're not going to throw hard even if you take 8 Advil. You're not going to throw hard if your arm doesn't feel good.
Right. Yeah. So, that's good, man. I think, so for you think that you were able to keep yourself healthier for longer.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Well, that's awesome, man. No, I like I said, I'm super pumped that you did the program with us. I think, me and you have talked about you doing a modified version of that when football's over and getting ready for the high school season, and I think that'll be huge. And that's always something that we can talk through, figuring out going from football and baseball and back and forth. I think I think I'll let you elaborate on this, but you're kind of solidifying yourself as more of a baseball player than a football player going forward. And that's no knock on him, guys. He's a great football player too. But I think you're starting to kind of see that light and where that's leading you. What does that mean for you in terms of doing both sports all the way through high school? What does that look like?
Well, I think, obviously football is a huge commitment, and especially as a quarterback, you have a job to do. You have to be there every day. But obviously it's just going to take extra work, doing the baseball stuff, even if you have football earlier that day, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of important just to, if you're going to do both, you got to do them both 100%.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. I think, the athletes that do the best at multiple sports are the ones that are able to just kind of turn it off and on when they need to, so that's awesome. Going back to the PBR games, right? PBR Future Games, like you expressed your excitement in that when you got the invite. I probably knew before you did that you were going to get an invite because those guys were communicating with me and asking questions and how to be. It was weird because the first time I realized that you were going to get that invite was when we played a perfect game tournament, and I got a text from the PBR guy saying, "How did Pearch throw today?" And I'm like, "Hold on a second, am I in the right tournament?" And that's when I realized, okay, they're looking at some other things because they want to line some stuff up at the end of the summer. So, like you said, you were super excited when you got the text. Like, do you remember where you were? Do you remember, what was going on when you got the text? Do you remember who'd you tell first?
Ooh, I definitely told probably my dad.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I think I was in the car on the way home from a game.
Yeah.
And I saw the text, and it was awesome. And I just kind of told my dad, and it was just an awesome moment. I was just super excited.
Did you have any idea? Like, did you have any idea that you were going to get an invite to something like that?
Well, I definitely wanted one, and like I said, I requested an invite because, I just really wanted to get into it. And I got a write up earlier by one of the PBR guys, and I was kind of in contact with him. And I don't want to say I was expecting it, but I wasn't going to be like completely surprised if I got one, but it was still awesome.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So, okay, so you got the invite, accepted, all that stuff. We knew for a few weeks in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Then we finished our season, and we got a week before it's time to go up there. And I remember you asked me, Coach, what do I do in between? Because Velocity Max had ended, and you're like, Coach, what do I do? Do I throw a pen before I go up there? Like, what should I do? And I'm like, yeah, you probably need to throw one more pen. You didn't get to, right? You had football every day. The stuff just didn't line up. You didn't get to throw your pen. You went up there on Friday night. Walk through what that looked like, because obviously that was not a smooth show up at the ballpark, wait an hour before, and go right to pitch. There was all kinds of crap. So kind of talk through heading up there that day and getting ready to pitch, and then, obviously the waiting games.
Well, so, I drove up alone. I wanted to listen to my music, get locked in. I remember driving up there on the highway. I was blasting my music full volume, just.
What were you listening to?
A little rap, a little Uzi Vert, a little Gunna.
Okay.
I was just getting locked in, just staring straight ahead, just thinking to myself.
Yeah.
And getting up there, it was just kind of surreal. The parking lot was absolutely filled. I had to park in another lot, and I'm walking up, kids 4 inches taller than me, like probably 40 pounds more than me, and just coaches everywhere. It was cool. And then I just remember walking over to the guys saying what's up, all of them being pretty cool.
Yeah.
Some of them, keeping to themselves, trying to lock themselves in. Other guys, chatting it up. It was just a cool experience.
That's awesome, man. So you're up there. How early did you get up there? Hour and a half before, hour before?
Yeah, about an hour and a half before.
Okay. So, I showed up. I came. Coach Vic came. Rolando came. We get up there. We probably were up there 45 minutes before we came over and said, hey, T, you're warming up. Stuff was going on before the game. And then right before the game, lightning delay.
Yeah.
Right? The infamous Lake Point lightning delay. What was going through your head there? Because you already knew you were going to pitch what? Was it fifth and sixth inning?
Yeah.
So what was going through your head then? Like, oh, man, like I got to wait even longer to throw. Like, I'm sure there was anticipation building up, right?
Well, yeah. Well, because I remember when we were getting on the field, like, we could see some great clouds coming over, and everyone was just talking like, man, I hope we don't get hit with this stuff. And especially the pitchers, it definitely affects the pitchers the most, because I remember I was deciding whether I was going to start my stretching bands and stuff like that before, because I didn't want to get loose too early and then get in a rain delay. And so I just decided to go for it, and then that's exactly what happened.
Yep. No, I was thinking the same thing, man. And who was the starter again? It was something. What was his first name?
Eston
Simpson. Yeah, he got all the way hot. Like I watched him warm up before the game. He was all the way hot, ready to go. And then he had to sit for, it was probably an hour and 15 minutes at least.
Yeah, it was about, I think we started 2 hours late.
Okay, 2 hours late. So, but he ended up still pitching.
Yeah.
So was there any conversation between players and coaches about whether or not they were going to X him or save him for another day or anything like that?
Well,
what did that look like?
I remember he was talking to the other guys, and they were like making sure he was good to go, and he was confident with it. I'm glad I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have just been like mad because it was literally like maybe within 5 minutes of this game start. So everyone was like jacked up, ready to play in the dugout, and then you just see on the board a little lightning delay on there, and it was just
Yeah. No, that's rough, man. So fast forward through all the lightning delay. I think we went and got food and then came back, and game started rolling. And I've been up there a million times to Lake Point. I've been coaching travel ball for 6, 7, 8 years now, and I've been going up there for a long time. And I don't think I ever saw it so full of people, and not only people but college coaches and recruiters and scouts. What was that like for you guys? I mean, I have to remember you guys are sophomores going into your junior year. You're 16. Like, I'm sure that was a big deal and that's exciting, but is it nerve-wracking at the same time?
Well, I feel like, I don't mean to like toot my own horn, I guess you could say, but I feel like that's one of my like strengths is I'm able to like focus in. So like that stuff doesn't really worry me. Like, I guess like throughout the summer, like there were like a couple coaches at our games that kind of got me ready, I guess you could say, but it was nothing like future games. I feel like I can like, focus, like just kind of like block everything out. Like it's just me and the catcher. I feel like when I'm pitching, I don't hear anything. It's just me in my own head.
Yeah.
Just me and the catcher.
Like For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner. You ever seen that movie? Yeah, good example. No, that's awesome, man. So, all right, so now first couple innings have gone by. The boys on your team have done their thing. Couple pitchers have already pitched. You've gone through the lineup probably almost twice when it was getting ready to be your turn to go pitch. You're getting ready. It's the fourth inning, and you're like, okay, time to head down to the bullpen. What's going through your mind? At that point, are you just like, screw it, man, I'm ready to go. Like, get me in here. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, especially because the first 4 innings must have been an hour and a half. It was it was the longest 4 innings I've ever been in, and it was like me and 3 other POs just sitting in the dugout for the whole time, and I was just like, man, can this hurry up? Just like stuff like that because it was taking a while, so I was just ready to go.
Yeah.
So I just kind of thought to myself, just do my thing, just do what I can do.
Okay. So first inning, you roll out there. How'd you feel?
I felt good, but I just felt a tiny bit off. And it was, we had football that whole week. I threw the football that morning before I had to come up. And I was just like that tiny bit off where it's like a little bit of timing, stuff like that. Yeah. And I think I walked the first guy. He got thrown out at second. Yep. Walked the second guy. And then that's when I kind of settled in, started throwing strikes. I think we had a pop out, and then I struck the last guy out for the third out. My catcher, he made a great throw, threw the guy out. That really helped me out.
Yeah.
And then kind of walked in, was like, I was pissed at myself, like, come on. Like, and, when I went out there for the second, I just felt a lot better. I think I threw like 5 straight strikes, and I just kind of felt a lot more like on time, more locked in for that second inning, and I did pretty well that last inning.
That's awesome. And I watched obviously both innings that you threw, and like you said, it looked like you were just off a little bit, and I think you threw 7 straight balls in the beginning. I'm like, okay, let's get going. So when you threw that first strike, was that a major sigh of relief?
Yeah, I was just, I don't want to say I was like losing focus, but I was just kind of like getting mad at myself, telling myself like, come on, man, like giving up free stuff to batters is the worst thing you can do. Like, even if you're throwing strikes and they're hitting it, you're still throwing strikes, and that's really the most important thing while pitching. And that's kind of what I've struggled with in the past, is walking too many guys, throwing too many pitches, getting too deep into counts. So that's stuff I definitely need to work on. But I definitely kind of settled in after that.
That's awesome, man. No, I noticed when I saw you throw a 3-2 slider, that's when I knew you were back to yourself. I know that you like throwing the slider in the 3-ball counts, 3-1, 3-2. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, he's good. And I think that when college coaches watch you play, those are the things that they want to see. They love when you flash a 91. You hit 91 this summer. That's a huge deal, man. Going from 87 to 91, that's a big jump. At the PBR games, I think you were more down to, in the 87 range, which is still really good. But the biggest thing is like those things, man, like the next level things, being able to throw a slider in a 3-2 count, being able to throw a slider when you're behind in the count, and being confident enough to do those things. So just kind of going on the subject of recruiting, you've been followed. Like you've had some following from several Division I level schools, and you've had some conversations, and you've gone to some camps. August 1st just passed not too long ago. So what has the recruiting piece been like for you? I know it's a learning process, but kind of fill us in on that.
Well, I've had 6 colleges contact me, and I've gotten 1 offer. But yeah, I was like surprised. I remember that day before we had football at 6 a.m. So I probably went to bed at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
When I wake up the next morning, I had a text from a coach at 12:01 in the morning, right when it hit August 1st.
I could probably guess who that coach is, but I don't want you to say it on film. So no, that's funny, man. That's how it works now, man. I mean, everybody is gunning for the good guys, and when they see stuff they like, they're gonna try to hound you. They're gonna try to get you on their campus. They're gonna try to get you to camps. They want to see what your interest is, man. So that's awesome. I mean, in this process, I mean, you said you've had 6 schools reach out. You've had 1 offer already. Did you think that it would go that way by the end of the summer? Is that what you expected? Is that what you wanted? What was your expectations on the recruiting side?
Well, I feel like definitely in the beginning I wasn't sure because my high school season, it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't like my best at all, and so I wasn't really sure. And I just throughout kind of the summer, we started seeing like maybe 1 coach at a game, and then there was like 2 or 3 towards the end of the season. That kind of gave me a bit of an expectation to like come August 1st, and I feel like the amount of like calls and stuff I got, that's pretty much what I expected. And I heard from some schools that I didn't even know were looking at me. I heard from some that I had already been in contact with, whether it was like asking me to come up to a camp or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously there are some schools that I might want to go to, something like that, or I'm interested in that hasn't contacted me yet. But the thing is, and this is for like even kids who maybe didn't get a single call or a contact, like there's still the whole 17U summer, all of high school season too, for coaches to come out and watch you. And I feel like that's kind of kept me sane, is like you have a whole nother year.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just kind of been a thought in the back of my head.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, you've got a bright future ahead of you, man. You got to keep working. You got to keep pushing. I'm super proud of the progress you've had. Obviously, I love you being a part of it here with us. We're not done yet.